MathLinks Chapter 7, Lesson 4, Subtracting Mixed Numbers. Our learning intentions for this are I can subtract mixed numbers with like denominators and with unlike denominators, or different ones, and I can check that my answers are reasonable by estimating. When we're doing subtraction, one of the things we want to check and make sure is that the numbers in the mixed numbers can be subtracted. So, is the first number, in this case 2, larger than the second number, which is in this case 1? If the answer is yes, as it is in this case, then we can proceed in a couple of different ways. One is with fraction strips. So in this case we have 2 3/4 of fraction strips, and we're taking away 1 1/4. So we can remove the 1, and that goes. And then we're taking away 1/4, so we're going to grab 1/4 from here, and that goes, which leaves us with 1 whole fraction strip and 1 fraction strip that has 2/4 filled in. Now, of course, we need to reduce this to the lowest equivalent fraction, so it's not 1 2/4, but 1, and if we draw one that's equivalent to this, we can see that that is equal to 1/2. So our lowest term answer is 1 1/2. We can also write this as a subtraction statement. So we've got 2 3/4 minus 1 1/4 is 2 minus 1 plus 3/4 minus 1/4. 2 minus 1 equals 1. 3/4 minus 1/4, so 3 minus 1 over 4 gives us with 1 2/4, which is the same as 1 1/2. To check our answer, we use estimation. 2 3/4 is almost 3. 1 1/4 is almost 1, or just over 1. 3 minus 1 leaves us with 2, so we want an answer that's close to 2. We've got 1 1/2, which is fairly close to 2, and when we look, we can see that 3 is an overestimate and 1 is an underestimate. So we're starting with an overestimate, we're taking away an underestimate, so of course our answer is going to be a little bit larger than what we're actually looking at, which it is when we look at 1 1/2. Pause here and take your notes. Now, I think I misspoke when I was speaking in the last slide. It's not the whole numbers that you're looking at to see if they can be subtracted when you're looking at subtraction questions. What you want to look at are the numerators when they're over the same denominator. And if we have 1/4, we can't take away 3/4 just through the fractions without going into negative numbers, which we're not going to be doing here. So in a case like this, what we want to do is we want to convert it to an improper fraction. And the way we do this is we look at 2 wholes where our wholes have 4 pieces each. It's like saying 4 over 4 plus 4 over 4, because there's our 2 wholes, plus 1 over 4, which equals 4 plus 4 plus 1 over 4, which is 9 over 4. Or we could also do this as 2 times 4, which equals 8, plus what we have left over, 1 over 4. So now we've got a total of 9 over 4. And we can convert our second fraction, 1 3/4, the same way. So we've got 1 times 4 plus 3 is 4 plus 3, or 7 over 4. So now we can take 9/4, subtract 7/4, and we end up with 2/4. When we look at the numerator and the denominator, we can see that both sides can be divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 equals 1, 4 divided by 2 equals 2, and our answer for this question is 1/2. Now, if we were doing this with fraction strips, we would be able to see, in a sense, what we were doing a little bit better. With the visual, we can see that what we're doing is we're taking away 1 whole, Okay, that's that one. And then we want to take away 3 parts, 3 out of 4. Well, there's one of them, but we need 2 more. So we need to take this one and we need to split it up into fractions so that we can take 1, 2, 3 and take those away to represent the 3 fractions that we're taking away. What we have left then is this part here, which is 2 out of 4. And of course, again, we want to check our answers. So 2 1/4 is close to 2. 1 3/4 is also close to 2. So 2 minus 2 equals 0. So we're going to have an answer that's close to 0, which 1/2 is. Pause now and take your notes. Subtracting fractions with unlike denominators isn't that much different from subtracting them with like denominators, except for that very first step. You need to find a common denominator. So when I look at 8 and 2, I know that 2 actually fits into 8. 2 is a factor of 8, so I'm going to change this one to something over 8. I know that 2 times 4 equals 8. So whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top, and I have 1 times 4 equals 4. So what my question is going to be now is 3 3/8 minus 1 4/8. And again, when I look at these first numbers, the numerators, 3 minus 4 is going to put me into a negative number. So if I'm going to do this using the subtraction statement method, I need to put them into mixed numbers. 3 times 8 plus 3 gives me a numerator of 24 plus 3, which is 27. So I have 27 over 8 minus 1 times 8 plus 4, which gives me 8 plus 4, which equals 12. So I'm subtracting 12 over 8. I can write this as my subtraction statement, 27 minus 12 over 8, and 27 minus 12 leaves me with 15 over 8. Now I want to transfer this back into a mixed number because mixed numbers is what I'm dealing with. So I'm kind of going to do the opposite of what I did here. I'm going to take 15. I know that I can get one group of 8 out of that. Okay, so that would be 8. 15 minus 8 equals 7. So I'm going to have 1 whole and 7 over 8. I can do this with the fraction strips as well. I have 3 whole fraction strips and 3/8 of a fraction strip minus 1 whole fraction strip and 4/8 of a fraction strip, or in the original, 1/2 of a fraction strip. Like I said, I split this one up until I had it in eighths so that I could actually calculate this. I'm going to take 1 to deal with that. I'm going to take 4, so I've got 1, 2, 3, and then I need to split this one up so that I can take 4, and that leaves me with 1 and 7 out of 8. Pause now and take your notes. Okay, there's 4 questions up on the screen now. I want you to do the subtraction for these 4 questions. Pause the video and then come back to check your answers. So pause the video now and go do your calculations in whatever way you like to. Okay, so come back now and check your answers. We've got 2 minus 1, which equals 1, and 2/3 minus 1/3, which equals 1/3. So our answer to this one is 1 1/3. With 4 1/8 minus 3 7/8, I'm going to need to regroup or turn this into an improper fraction. So this is going to become 4 times 8 equals 32, plus 1 equals 33. So this will be 33 over 8. And 3 times 8 equals 24, plus 7 will equal 31 over 8. So 33 minus 31 over 8 gives me 2 over 8. Oops. Which, as you can see, is both these numbers are divisible by 2, so I end up with 1/4 is my answer in lowest terms. With these ones, I need to turn them into, I need to check and find a common denominator, which when I look at the multiples is 20. So this becomes 4, and 4 times 5 equals 20, so 1 times 5 equals 5 over 20, minus 3 and 5 times 4 equals 20, so 2 times 4 equals 8. So I'm going to need to regroup for this one as well. 4 times 20 is 80, plus 5 is 85 over 20. 3 times 20 is 60, plus 8 equals 68 over 20. And if I do 85 minus 68, I can borrow from the 8 to make 7. 15 minus 8 equals 7. 7 minus 6 equals 1, so that leaves me with 17 over 20. 17 is a prime number, so I know my answer can't be any smaller than that. So the answer to this one is 17 over 20. And then I've got 3 3/8 minus 1 1/4. Well, I know that 1/4 can actually be turned into a fraction over 8. So I end up with 3 3/8 minus 1, and 4 times 2 equals 8, so 1 times 2 equals 2 over 8. 3 minus 1 equals 2. 3/8 minus 2/8 equals 1/8. And 1 over any number is always going to be your lowest terms, so your answer is 2 1/8. Here are your key ideas for this lesson. When you're subtracting mixed numbers that have the same denominator, assuming that the numerator of the fraction in the first mixed number is bigger than the numerator in the second mixed number, you can subtract the whole numbers and then you can subtract the fractions. If you're subtracting mixed numbers with different denominators, and again, if the first numerator is bigger than the second, the first thing you need to do is find a common denominator and convert both of these mixed numbers into that common denominator. Then you can subtract the whole numbers and subtract the fractions after that. If, in either case, the numerator of the first mixed number is smaller, you have two options. You can regroup, which is taking one of the wholes, converting it to it'll have the same numerator and denominator. In this case, 4 3/8 becomes 3 and 8 over 8 plus 3 over 8, which equals 11 over 8. So we've got 3 11/8 minus 1 5/8. Or you can change the whole thing to an improper fraction and then change it back into a mixed number afterwards. So 4, you've got your whole number times your denominator, 4 times 8, which equals 32, plus your numerator, which is 3. So we've got 35 over 8 as the equivalent for 4 3/8. And then 1 times 8 equals 8, plus 5 equals 13. So we have 13 over 8 as our second denominator. 35 over 8 minus 13 over 8 equals 22 over 8, which, if we do our division, we turn it into a mixed number. We see that 8 goes into 22 2 times with a remainder of 6. The 2 becomes our whole number, 2. And the remainder, the 6, is our numerator over 8, so 2 6/8, which we always put our numbers in lowest terms, which is 2 3/4. Pause the video, copy down the key ideas, including the diagrams, and do your communicate the ideas, please.